Om Shanti. Happy Diwali wishes to all divine brothers and sisters. Today we are going to see the spiritual significance behind the 5 days celebration of Diwali. So it is widely celebrated across the country. So the first day is Dhanteras or Dhanvantri Trayodasi, where people clean their houses and buy new things and precious metals like gold, silver. So that's how Trayodasi or Dhanteras is celebrated. And also in some places, a day before Dhanteras, they have a function where they worship kettles. Okay, like in Maharashtra. And on the second day, there is Narak Chaturdashi, which is also called Choti Diwali, which is small Diwali. So they have this habit of lighting a lamp called Yama lamp or Yama Deep. So to please Lord Yama to protect us from premature death, and also to pray Yama to liberate the dead souls from this earth. So the third day is the main day where they perform Lakshmi Puja, and the fourth day is Govardhan Puja, where wives pray for the well-being of their husbands. And on the fifth day, the last day, there is this function called Bhai Doj, where brothers visit their married sisters' home and present them with precious gifts, and these sisters, they wear tilak to their brothers, and also they perform arati for the well-being of their brother. In all these 5 days, there will be beautiful lamps, especially of earthenware lamps, in all corners of the house and also outside the house. And needless to mention about the crackers they use for these 5 days, because this is the biggest Hindu function of the world. Generally speaking, the main reason for celebrating Diwali is to mark the celebration of the victory of Ram over Ravan. So after defeating him and killing Ravan, Ram along with his wife Sita enters Ayodhya again. So to celebrate that, people fill their homes with lamps and celebrates with crackers. So that's why we till date are having that habit of using the lamps and crackers. And also it's a custom, they have 5 different new dresses that they wear on these 5 days, and also they will prepare 5 different dishes for these 5 days. So first day, Dhanteras, is to mark the celebration of the birth of Dhanvantri, the god of health, along with the birth of goddess Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth. So both of them take birth on that particular day when the demons and devatas churn the ocean of milk to get the nectar, Amrit, so that they can attain immortal life. So Dhanvantri emerges out of the mountain with Amrit Kalash, so to cure all the diseases that causes death to humans. So that's why in Ayurveda they celebrate that birthday. On the second day, Narak Chaturdashi, so the story goes that Sri Krishna kills Narakasuran, who has been tormenting the innocent people, and he stole the jewelry of Aditi, the mother of all gods and goddesses, and also he kidnaps 16,000 women and imprisons them. So Krishna fights with Narakasur and kills him and liberates 16,000 women. So then he marries them and makes them into queens. So to mark the death of Narakasur, the second day is celebrated as Narak Chaturdashi. On the third day, the main deity of Diwali is Mahalakshmi. So they perform puja for Mahalakshmi. And the day before that, they would also perform puja for Hanuman. And on the third day, the main Diwali, they perform puja for Lakshmi and Ganesh. So these 5 days, they perform all sorts of puja for Kali, for Mahalakshmi, for Hanuman, for Ganesh, for Sri Krishna, for husbands, for brothers, for cattle, for coriander, for Dhanvantri, and for all the weapons they use. So it is on the third day we can feel the real magic of all costly crackers. On the fourth day, they perform Govardhan Puja. The story goes that Sri Krishna saves the residents of Vrindavan from the torrential rain that is caused out of anger of Lord Indra, because Sri Krishna prohibited people of Vrindavan from worshipping him, because people had been worshipping him thinking that he was the reason that they get rain. But Krishna says that it is because of the Govardhan mountain that they can feed their cattle and not because of Indra. So Indra gets furious and he sends this torrential rain to Vrindavan to save the people and cattle from the torrential rain and its damage. Lord Krishna lifts the Govardhan mountain with his single finger, and he asks the people to get under the mountain so that they no longer get affected by the torrential rain. So that continues for 7 days, and he's been lifting the mountain continuously for 7 days. On seeing this, Indra realizes that this can't be a normal kid. So he comes down to earth, he comes down to Vrindavan, and he asks for forgiveness. So people perform puja for Sri Krishna on the fourth day, Govardhan Puja, and also they create a small mountain out of cow dung and worship it. And also on the fourth day, wives perform puja for the well-being of their husbands. And also people with their married daughters, they invite their daughters along with their son-in-law and they gift them with costly gifts. On the fourth day, as I mentioned earlier, married sisters invite their brothers to their home and they take arati for their brother and they wear tilak on his forehead, and the brothers gift their sisters with valuable gifts. What is the need for these 5 days celebration? What is the correlation between these functions, 5-day functions, and the stories and the traditions? That is something we need to give a thought. Not only Diwali, all religious functions are celebrated to mark the divine act of God that takes place towards the end of Kali Yuga, where God himself descends from his supreme abode called Parandam or Parlok. God Shiv enters an old man's body and start giving this knowledge that the world is going to end, but you need not worry about it because the soul is imperishable. So now the soul is very impure, it is filled with sins. So we all are sinful souls in Kali Yuga, which is why we are facing so many problems from our relatives due to health issues, due to natural calamities, and so on. So it is because we are impure. We carry sins in our souls. Soul is a point of light that lies in between the eyebrows. That is why Hindus have this habit of wearing the red colored dot here. So God gives, God comes from his supreme abode just to save us from the punishment of the sins we have committed for several births. So he has the cure, and that is represented as Dhanvantri on the first day of Dhanteras. So God has the cure. What is the cure? God says, you don't suffer while I created you. While I created this world is free of any sort of suffering. Actually, it was heaven when God created and sent us as deities. So we do not know what pain is, what suffering is while we were in heaven. So this world, the same world, continued to be heaven for the first 2500 years, in which there were no trace of sorrow or pain. It was filled with bliss and peaceful atmosphere, and we were healthy, we were wealthy, and we were filled with divine virtues like love, peace, bliss, power, and purity. Both men and women were very beautiful. Despite that, we wouldn't lust each other because we were not body conscious. Instead, we were soul conscious. We used to consider ourselves to be this point of light that operates this body. It is just the toy. This is not us. The body is not us. We were aware of that while we were in heaven, because of which we didn't fall for the 5 vices like lust, anger, greed, attachment, and ego. If we don't fall for those 5 vices, there is no reason for us to have any suffering. That's why we were very happy. That's the reason we were filled with prosperity. But that was not the case after the completion of the first 2500 years. So the heaven slowly becomes hell after 2500 years. Why? Because we become body conscious. So we forget that we are originally souls. Instead, we started to consider ourselves to be this perishable body and become slaves for the sensual pleasures, because of which we got addicted to those 5 vices: lust, anger, greed, attachment, and ego. So these 5 vices are combinedly called as Ravan or Bakasur or Satan or Maya. So we become slaves of them. So they represent the negative characters within us that emerge when we become body conscious. So we become slaves of that. It is that Bakasur or Narakasur or Ravan that tortures us. So God comes in the end, the last 100 years before the destruction of Kali Yuga. He enters an old man's body and he names him Brahma, and he starts giving this divine lecture called Murli, which you can get free of cost from any Raj Yoga meditation centers, and also you can see it in Google. You can Google for Murli in your language: English Murli, Telugu Murli, Hindi Murli, Japanese Murli, Chinese Murli. It's available in all languages. So you can read it, you can go through the Murli lectures by Raja Yogis and Raja Yoginis in your language, and you can listen to them. Or you can, if you can find the nearest Raja Yoga meditation center in your area, you can also Google for the same. Then you can go there. It's totally free of cost because it is run directly by God Shiv, who is the father of all souls. And that God Shiv is called Allah by Muslims, and he is called the heavenly Godfather by Christians. So God is just one. Everybody else, including all the 33 million deities, are his creations. See, in heaven there used to be the kingdom. So we were kings and queens. Not everybody is a king and queen, right? So there will be many subjects. So there will be 16,000 kings and queens for the first 2,500 years in heaven. And what happened to them? They take several rebirths and enter hell, and we just forget the fact that we once ruled this world, which was filled with bliss and peacefulness. So it's more like we are imprisoned by Narakasur, these 5 vices. So not only those kings and queens, but everybody else was imprisoned. So God comes and gives this knowledge and liberates us, releases us from the prison of Ravan. So how does he do that? He gives us this knowledge, which is the medicine to get rid of body consciousness, which is the reason for all the pain and suffering and illness. So that is the Murli. It's the herb of knowledge. That's the Sanjeevani herb that saves us. So we have to listen to that. So that's why the first day we pray to Dhanvantri. So God actually looks after these souls. He protects us, the souls, which is represented as cattle in Mahabharata that Krishna looked after, and also represented as cattle that Jesus Christ looked after in Bible. But it is the souls. And who gives this knowledge? Not Lord Krishna is giving this knowledge, it is Lord Shiv who comes in the end. So they have just changed the name of the Father, Shiv, with the name of the Son, Sri Krishna and Jesus Christ, which is why there is such a huge confusion of knowing what the truth is. No matter what religion you belong to, what religious scripture you read, all has in its essence the same story. We were in heaven in the beginning, and we commit some mistake like eating the knowledge fruit as in Bible, and in Mahabharata we lust after a deity, because of which Brahma gets angry and he curses us out of heaven. In Bible, God curses us out of heaven. And now we are here on earth. We forget the way back to heaven. Only God knows the way. He comes in the end. He shows us the path. He says, after Kali Yuga, there's going to be Satyuga again, which is heaven. So those who were in heaven will be there in heaven again. So now we are slaves of these 5 vices. In heaven, they do not know what those vices are. They are as pure as a child. How is that magic happening? God is the actual magician that makes it happen. Yes, He teaches us to conquer those 5 vices by listening to Murli daily. What is the essence of the Murli teachings? We have to consider ourselves as the imperishable soul and not as this perishable body. And we have to constantly remember God as a point of light, lovingly as our Father. we need to do it continuously as much as possible so that our past sins get burnt, so that we no longer get punished for our past sins. So it is God Shiv that liberates us, the 16,000 women. Yes, we souls are women, and we get married to God Shiv in this last birth. Everything happens mentally because God Shiv doesn't have a physical body on his own. So it is the matter of soul, not the physical body. Yes, we consider God to be our husband or lover, and we have to constantly remember only God Shiv so that we forget to commit the past sins. So we get escaped from the punishment and we get escaped from the hell completely in the end. So we get liberated from hell and we go back to where we came from, the supreme abode. So it is also called the soul world. We have to leave this body and we have to go there. So to leave this body and to avoid taking rebirth in hell again, we have to forget everything that is present in hell that we live now. So for that we need to consider ourselves constantly as the soul that is distinct from this body. We are not this body, we are not attached physically or mentally to this body or the bodily relations anymore. So how do we achieve that kind of mindset? We achieve that by forging all sorts of relationship with the only one God Shiv. So God liberates the sinful souls from their sins by giving this Raj Yoga knowledge, which is just considering ourselves to be the imperishable soul and remembering God as a point of light constantly. He is also a soul, which is why he is called the Supreme Soul, Param Atma. So to mark the liberation of souls from their sins and the sinful world called Kali Yuga, we celebrate the second day as Narak Chaturdashi, liberation of souls from Narak, that is hell. So how do we get liberated? By thinking constantly about the knowledge that he gives. By churning the ocean of knowledge, we get the nectar of knowledge, which makes us immortal, which means we start taking birth in heaven. There is no death there. Doesn't mean we won't leave the body at all. If that were the case, where is Sri Krishna, Sri Ram, where are they? No, they take rebirth. But that process of leaving one's body is not called death there, because they were soul conscious. So it is more like changing the clothes. So this body, which is like a old cloth, we are just leaving that old cloth and taking the new cloth. That is, we are taking the new body. So that's when we actually celebrate instead of getting sad while somebody leaves their body, as we do in Kali Yuga. So that is why they lit the Yamadeep. So it has two meanings. One, to mark the death of Narakasur. So that is why on the second day we wake up early and we take oil bath, special bath in warm water before the sunrise. So that bath is equal to taking bath in Ganges. So we have this belief system that if we take bath in Ganges, we will be deprived of all the past sins. So it is the actual taking bath in the Ganges of knowledge, not that physical water Ganges. So that is what we are doing. We are taking bath in the Ganges of knowledge, that is Murli. We listen to it daily, we keep thinking about it regularly. Thereby we get rid of body consciousness and we get rid of this hell and we become suitable to enter heaven. So that's the third day. Third day marks the opening of heaven, the beginning of heaven. Do you know who ruled the heaven for in the beginning? Lakshmi and Narayan. That is why on the third day there is a special puja for Lakshmi. On the third day, that is the heaven, there is no trace of poverty at all in the world. Everybody is filled with unlimited treasure. Everybody is rich there. There is the deities were richer and richest. There's no trace of poverty of any sort there. And also they will be ever healthy, ever wealthy, ever peaceful, ever blissful. And how do we achieve that? How do we go to heaven? By taking knowledge from God Shiva, by going to Raj Yoga Meditation Center or through online courses, through online videos, Raj Yoga meditation videos. So that is called 7 days course in Raj Yoga meditation centers. That is why on the fourth day they have this Govardhan Puja, where Sri Krishna actually lifts the mountain for 7 days, so that it protects the people of Vrindavan from the ill effects of the torrential rain. So this Kali Yuga is the ocean of poison. We see sorrow everywhere, and we take this 7 days knowledge, and if we stay within this knowledge for the rest of our lives, we will be safeguarded from the poisonous effects of this Kali Yuga. So that mountain represents the mountain of sorrow. He lifts that up and he protects us. Though we are surrounded by the ocean of poison, we are living in a separate world mentally that is directly protected by God Shiva. So by remembering God as a point of light constantly, what do we get? We get the power to conquer those 5 vices, especially the number 1 vice, the lust. So in this birth, after taking this knowledge, the married couples, they stay pure. They no longer have physical relationship. So it is with the cooperation of their spouse, they are able to remain pure and they can get into heaven, right? So they are thanking their spouses or partners. That is what we do on Govardhan Puja. Ladies perform special puja for the well-being of their husband, for cooperating. It's like thanking them, to letting them stay pure. And on the last day, they have this Boy Doj, where they perform special puja for the well-being of their brothers. So to forge the brother-sister relationship. So if you have no lust between husband and wife, in Kali Yuga, it's more like brother-sister relationship, right? So it is more like performing puja for husband or for brothers, because in after taking this knowledge, we have only one relationship with everybody, that is brothers and sisters, no other relationship. Everything else we have that with only God. God is our lover, husband, father, kid, grandchildren, grandmother, grandfather, best friend. Everything else is only with God. So that is why, so it is to mock our thankfulness to all the souls of the world. We are just thanking our brother, because we can't go and wear tilak for everybody else. That's humanly impossible, right? Not only Hindus, even Sikhs, they celebrate Diwali for an entirely different reason. And even that points to the same thing that's happening here. So they have three reasons to celebrate Diwali. The first reason being Guru Har Gobind Singh was imprisoned by the Mughal Emperor Jahangir, and after being released from the prison, he reaches the Golden Temple in Amritsar on Diwali. That's why they celebrate Diwali. See, we are imprisoned by Ravan and we are released by God, and we are reaching the golden age, Satyug. So that will be filled with golden palaces, and it's the place of bliss and peacefulness. There is nobody who hurts us. Even animals, they behave so lovingly to us. And the next reason is still more interesting. So there is this Guru Amar Das, the third Guru of Sikhs. He built a well in Goindwal with 84 steps and invited Sikhs to take bath in that sacred well for them to get eternal liberation, moksha, or to reach heaven. So it coincides with the fact that in this 5,000 year time cycle, the maximum birth one can take is 84 births. So those 84 steps in that well represents the 84 birth. So we are descending, right? Soul is descending because it is the power of the soul is decreasing gradually. It loses all its power by the time it reaches the 84th birth. That is when we take bath in the Ganges of knowledge, that is the knowledge given directly by God. So that is what they do physically, right? So they get down the 84 steps and then they take bath, believing that they will attain heaven. How interesting is that? So it would be more interesting if you do share this video with your friends and relatives, so that they obviously will be hearing this for the very first time. So they will be very happy. I don't think you can give them a better precious gift than this video. So don't miss to share these videos with your friends and relatives. If you like this video, hit the like button and leave your valuable comments, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please do subscribe immediately. And thanks for watching, and see you soon in another interesting video. Thanks again for watching.